At 13, I aced the Kingdom Soldier recruitment test, topping my dorm's applicants. Supervisor had to pick a commander by rank. He called, "Damien?" his eyes on the biggest soldier. He was shook to find it was me, a 13-year-old. The big guy wasn't having a kid lead him. He demanded a sparring match. Winner takes all. Match started, he charged. I ghosted his first strike, leaving him stunned.
Thinking I was some rando, he charged again, full send. I decked him in the ribs. He buckled but wouldn't quit. So I one-tapped him with a liver shot and he folded. The others were shook. That's how I got my first loyal minion. I knew I'd lead my own squad. My past life, just diffing countless ops.
My injuries ended that life. I died, then woke up 13. Soon after, my uncle brought a sketchy agent for my deceased parents' assets. That grifter tried to finesse my funds, saying he'd hold them till I was grown. I saw through that BS, ripped the document, demanding the money be in my name, no cap.
Uncle was shook. I'd locked down the account. He lost it, grabbed my collar, calling me a bastard. Honestly, I was kind of vibing. I told him the pig finally showed his true colors. Then my fist went straight for his face, dropping him.
After that, I turned back to the agent, who fumbled to pull a new doc and revised the deal on the spot. In my previous run, I had no shot at this, but this time's a whole vibe. Back in my room, I checked my mana core at my navel was still on lock, the real MVP for any warrior. I remembered that last time, after fumbling my inheritance to my uncle, he ghosted me, left me on the curb. From there, I got caught in the low-level crime grind, eventually busted, then drafted into the war zone.
Thought it was game over, but nah, I got a redo. Then I felt a vibe, an intruder. Snagged the dagger under my pillow. As they tried to creep in, I lunged, blade straight for their knee. But it didn't go all the way in.
The second intruder prepped an attack, but I no-diffed it. He switched up, lunged again. I sidestepped, went for his leg with my dagger. Who sent these goons? As he tweaked, I grabbed him, pressed him about Uncle Parker. When he zipped it, I re-upped the blade into his thigh.
Before I got an answer, another dude walked in. His blonde hair instantly screamed past life red flag. When I dropped his name, he looked genuinely shook. Seeing Mookman tied up, it all clicked. I zero hesitation slit the assassin's throat, then low-key grinned as the whole picture settled.
My uncle was behind everything in my past life. After getting kicked out, I ran to the back alleys for shelter. It always felt sus how fast these goons snatched me. Parker pulled this whole scam just to snatch my inheritance. That realization made me absolutely seethe. I took out the second assassin, no cap, eyes bloodshot.
I called it out. Parker totally snitched on me. Mookman didn't even blink, just went full send. I dodged his attack, no diff, leaving him shook. Low-key wondered if he'd always been this much of a scrub. His ego bruised, Mookman kept coming, but I dodged every strike on autopilot.
Little did he know, after countless beatdowns and near-death experiences in my past life, I'd unlocked a unique skill, predicting an opponent's next move. The instant someone prepped to strike, I could read it. Their gaze, step angle, waist twist, shoulder shift. So when Mookman charged again, I knew he was aiming for my head. I easily dodged, leaving him totally shook and fuming. Not wanting to be owned by a kid, he attacked even more wildly.
His moves got predictable. I dodged him easy. Before he could react, I smacked his wrist, disarming him. He lunged for his weapon. I freed my dagger. Then, as he cursed, reaching for his sword, I plunged it into his gut. Muckman dropped, stunned and confused, totally shook. I pulled the dagger out, no cap. He was almost in tears, wondering how a 13-year-old could dodge his best moves and land a hit so clean.
Seeing the confusion on his face, I decided to just spill the tea on how he got owned. I told him, low-key proud, I knew his next move the instant his arm went up. He was shook, thought it was total cap. When he denied it, I just told him, IDC if you believe me. Muckman, instead of folding, was like, this ain't over.
I reminded him he was about to unalive, no cap, no rumors. Blade to his throat, I told him to spill. Did Parker hire them to take me out? He clammed up.
I threatened a perm limp for whatever life he had left. My deadpan stare made him wonder how a 13-year-old could be so empty and cold. Terrified, he finally cracked. Parker hired them to take me alive.
The moment he confessed, my blade still iced him. Shock was his last vibe. With the final intruder handled, I figured I'd clean house before world domination. From my past life I learned, don't make ops for no reason. But if forced, I'd ghost them completely. No comeback, no threat. Meanwhile, at Parker's crib, the assassin boss told my uncle it's done.
Still sus, but Montal promised the job's done, I'd be delivered. Montal wondered why Parker called direct, guessing he was fuming. Parker clenched his fist, dropping a bastard. Montal assured him, it's almost over, no cap. Don't sweat payment for a slight delay. Then, a knock at the door.
"Assassin's here," he called. Uncle was buzzing, hyped to rip me apart, already plotting how to finesse the insurance. I'm the 9th beneficiary. Door opens. Dude barely dodges my dagger. Uncle, watching, looked like he was going to lose it. I step in. Assassin asks, "You, Damin?"
I clapped back, calling him a lackey. Montal was kinda shook until I explained he was just Parker's simp. That got a laugh. Then he turned to Parker, demanding triple the original commission. Parker was floored by the sudden hike, but Montal explained his team took heavy losses. He pointed to my bloody spear, noting an unexpected variable just dropped into the equation.
Parker lowballed. Montal dipped, sword sheathed, ready to ghost the job. Parker stopped him. My terrifying vibe made him cough up 3x the original, fast. Montal was hyped, deal secured, ready to hand me over. No cap. He said no hard feelings, though his crew caught a permanent L from my blade. For him, it was just biz. For me? Nah, it was personal. They made my past life an L, manicore bricked, living in the alleys. Couldn't let that slide. I told him to catch a fade. He came at me, but froze when my spear stopped inches from his precious. He started rethinking his whole strategy. I wasn't just some rando. He kept coming at me hard, but nothing was landing. His play was to sweep my legs the second I guarded, then finish me. But when he went for it, I just dipped. He froze as I stepped back, casually pointing out the small knife on his right. That's your actual weapon, I told him. I landed hits, letting him know I already clocked his whole deal. He screamed threats, which was peak irony since he dropped dead moments later, blood everywhere. Looking down, I figured he was slightly above average, but still just a back alley NPC. My focus shifted. My uncle was already simping on his knees, begging. I slowly approached him. He totally freaked, screaming for me to back off. His screams? Pure ASMR to my ears. Days after getting my payback, the agent dropped the news. 6 platinum, 650 gold. With 1 platinum equaling 1,000 gold, and a fam of 4 living on 2-3 gold a month, I was basically set for life. Once the deal was done, the agent, clearly shook, thanked me for trusting him. As I turned to leave, he called out, clocking my packed carriage. He asked where I was headed. Army, I said, and he looked shook. I just said I had people to link up with. Soon I was off to enlist. Part of it was old comrades, sure. But the realty? The Army was the only place built for someone like me. My past life memory hit different. This world's going full chaos in 5 years. A war era, deadass, where every young dude gets conscripted, no escape.
Second chance, mana core intact. I was hyped to volunteer early, not caught lacking like before. My plan? Hit the capital first, train a week in Delft mana cultivation, then apply to the 3rd camp. This time, I'm main charactering, shaping this era myself, not just swept along. A week later, I finally hit the enlistment grounds.
Training had me in the spotlight. Other recruits were low-key shocked, wondering how a kid like me was so skilled. But I just ignored the chatter, staying locked in. Afterward, fresh blisters from the spear. My hands weren't hitting different like my past life's calloused ones. Time to bandage up. Just then, an instructor interrupted, asking if I was applying as a trainee. I confirmed. He complimented my spear technique, asking where I'd learned it. I hesitated, wondering if he'd clock it as the kingdom's signature spear art. Kinda cringe, but every soldier's go-to. After a beat, I told him I learned it from my dad, who passed. He instantly looked guilty, apologized, but I just shrugged it off. I told him I was proud my dad served, and enlisting was just me following his path. That hit different. The instructor totally bought it, almost offered again, then caught himself, pulling back. After he reset, he asked my name. I answered like a soldier, no cap.
He wished me luck, then dipped. I thanked him. The second he was gone, my core went brrr with mana. I instantly knew what that meant. Pure hype. My own mana was finally online. That Delft mana method I'm banking on? It's future tech, cooked up 15 years from now by a Delft fam genius. Strict, yeah, but it's low-key the GOAT of cultivation methods. I knew all this because, past life me, I was a mana cultivation nerd, read every single book.
Just then, some recruits rolled up, clowning me for grinding when I couldn't even use mana. It low-key annoyed me, and they dipped laughing, but that effort wasn't for nothing. Now, I just needed to ace this exam. Pushing through the crowd, a face popped into my head. Knew he'd be here, wondering what he'd look like now. Soon after, recruits assembled for the first test, lifting a boulder.
Sounded simple, but yeeting 30 kilograms plus? That's a whole vibe check. It was the ultimate filter for the overconfident. Not me, though. I aced it. No sweat. My 1-star mana definitely carried. Next, test 2, a long-distance race, 90 minutes to complete.
Minor bumps and shoves were allowed, but outright attacking another applicant? Hard no. I figured instructors were probably low-key mixed in to stir the pot. Stepping off the track meant instant DQ, he added. Honestly, I was kinda hyped for this test. Minutes later, while warming up, some blonde dude just strolled over, getting unusually friendly. He said he'd been watching me. I was clueless why, but his face felt familiar. Before I could place him, he leaned in, asking if I was clueless why he was so curious. Still clueless, he whispered he knew I'd been using mana. That shook me, but I stayed chill. Commoners can use mana, no cap. Commoners usually only popped off with major backing or a wild card. Then it finally clicked where I knew him from. I asked his name, and when he said Abel, I was shook. In my past life, Abel was an absolute legend. A commoner who became a powerful general and count by 30? That's peak success, the ultimate glow-up everyone measured themselves against. Abel extended an olive branch.
Same age, he suggested we team up instead of beefing. I shook on it. Figured, no cap, allying with a future OP general was smart. Minutes later, instructor said get ready. Signal dropped, applicants zoomed. Many started strong, but then massive dudes gatekept the back, leaving everyone shook. One explained, wall of wailing was the real test to break through.
Apple suggested chilling behind the group, then overtaking the wall of guys last minute. Not my style, though. I just full sprinted, leaving him stunned. Other applicants were taking their sweet time, one even pitching Apple's exact plan. His friends were all in, until one spotted me, a literal shooting star, wondering what kind of speed demon I was. Another instructor clocked me, ready to humble me, but the blonde one stepped in, told him to chill, just a wake-up call, no real damage. He was hyped, eager for me to test his steel shoulders, promising to go easy. Before he even finished, I yeeted him aside like he weighed nothing, straight through the wall. He stood there shook, speechless, as I zipped past, leaving the others scrambling. A few gave chase, confirming my sus. Skilled instructors were low-key planted among the applicants. Honestly, I wasn't pressed. These instructors were kinda mid, no cap. Everyone else was lagging, but Abel saw me, got hyped, and followed. He went full send, leaving them shook, which low-key gassed them up to push. Up ahead, the instructors were stunned to see another beast coming. Instructors on the sidelines clocked the training ground's whole vibe shifting. One suggested more instructors to up the ante, but a voice cut in, stand down. It was Instructor Raymond. He warned more instructors would expose the exam was rigged. Applicants overpowering them was just the test working as intended. Raymond watched the whole thing unfold like a proud father as I sped past, thinking he wasn't wrong about me. He was low-key shook by my pace, noting I had a knack for hyping everyone up. By lap 29, I was gassed, hitting the home stretch. Apple pulled up, and I was like, bro, you still got mad energy.
He asked if I'd schemed this run, knowing I'd get cooked without mana. I told him nah, but if you gotta flex, you gotta flex it.
He found my answer interesting, said so. I returned the compliment. We crossed the finish line, instructor confirming we both aced test 2. Meanwhile, a top official heard about a cool applicant for Camp 3. An instructor spilled Raymond already hit him up. The applicant was only 13. Official was shook Raymond cared, since he's usually impossible to impress.
That alone made me curious about this kid. I asked the instructor their name. Back at camp, test results dropped. Some recruits wailed over failures, others celebrated success. Me? Nothing. Honestly confused why people hyped this small thing. Back in my past life's war, conscription was mandatory. Everyone fought tooth and nail to dodge it.
Low-key, I just clocked the world was chill. Then Apple hit me up. Congrats on camp. I acted shook. He passed too. Said my name was top of the list. I just noticed it. He was hyped to link up, even if different units.
He asked my plans for the week pre-enlistment. I casually said I had stuff, might be slammed. When he pressed, I brushed it off. Gotta grab supplies. That unlocked a memory for him. Crucial gear. Army boots were notoriously rock hard. Trainees were told to cop sole and heel pads ASAP.
I played dumb, knowing those boots were hardcore from my past life. I thanked him for the heads up. He seemed stoked. I asked his pre-enlistment plans. He claimed he was swamped, glossing over details fast. Reading the room, I dipped to prep as he quietly watched me go. Minutes later, an older guy, Alan, showed up, asking Abel, "Who was that?" Abel pondered his answer, his mind flashing back to our race day chat. He'd asked why I wanted to enlist. My mana levels already told him I wasn't just some basic recruit. I low-key found it sus, 'cause if he could sense my mana, he wasn't ordinary either. I just told him the army was my only vibe. Now he probably thinks there's more to my story than I'm spilling. So when Alan asked who I was, Abel just dropped that I'd be around a lot more. Alan didn't quite get it, and Abel just left it at that. As they prepped to leave, Alan called him Young Master, saying his ride was waiting. Abel quickly reminded him not to use that title here. Alan was like, "My bad," and they dipped to their carriage. Meanwhile, I was just vibing through the capital's busy streets, clocking how wild different it looked from my past life memories. Everywhere was peaceful, and folks were eating good. In just 5 years, this vibe would be totally gone, so I decided to prep for the chaos coming. First step, find the Work Merchant Guild. Back in my past life, during the war, artifacts, weapons, and food were peak valuable. Merchant guilds were low-key crucial. The Work Merchant Guild was the richest on the whole continent. Back in the day, during the war, my squad and I were always hyped for their relief drops. One day, the guild brought their usual shipment. Some soldiers got salty, seeing merchants chilling while we were grinding on the front lines. I reminded them we'd be toast without the guild keeping us fed and armed. The complaining soldier knew it, but said the bitterness still hit different. Me, I was always mad grateful. Funding that kind of charity, consistently, straight out of pocket, major respect. I sent the crew to hit the caravan for supplies, while I hung back, keeping tabs. Someone ID'd the guildmaster that day, but his face was totally obscured by a white cloak. I peeped some blonde hair, and my guys said he gave off major arrogant brat vibes. Now I gotta figure out how to track this guild, especially since they're still low-key. All I know is their charity game was strong even before the war. From 40 capital guilds, I narrowed it to 7, only those with serious charity funds. After a day of nada, I hit up HML Guild, last on my list. Walked in, a guy greeted me. Paid respects, low-key hoping this was it. Pitched investing in their charity. He was hyped, invited me to sit, praising my noble mindset for my age. My eyes went when he introduced himself. Work Hummel Guildmaster. I gave my name, then he invited me to discuss investment. But first, I awkwardly asked if he had a son. He laughed. Nah, just a daughter. My mood instantly tanked. The future guildmaster I remembered was a boy. Disappointment short-lived. The moment his daughter, Deal, walked in, I instantly clocked the resemblance to the white-cloaked dude from my past life. Orc introduced us. I was there to invest in their charity project. She cheerfully double-checked the investment deets. I confirmed.
Gender aside, everything else matched. Resemblance, age, the whole vibe.
Back then, the guildmaster's stunning looks really stood out. Now it clicks. Maybe they were a woman all along. Still, I couldn't quite figure out how Deal became Wirt's successor. She asked my initial investment. Explaining terms depended on fund usage. I told her I'm dropping 300 gold to start, with more to follow depending on the vibe. Both she and her dad were totally shook by the amount.
After a beat, Wirt asked what I wanted, since this wasn't a charity. I kept it 100, guild shares, and a cut of future profits for my investment. He was shook that a play this bold came from someone my age. He carefully asked where the stacks were from. I reassured him the funds were legit, just my late parents' inheritance going into something worthwhile. That seemed to chill him out, and he apologized for being nosy, but I told him it was no biggie.
He mentioned a guild meeting. I agreed to give him time. After I left, I was living rent-free in his head. Deal asked what was up. He was obsessed with my vibe, saying at 13 I was built different, especially my eyes. He even wished I was 5 years older, joking I'd be her perfect match. Embarrassed, she told him to drop the matchmaking. He still clowned her, wondering if she was into older guys. After sealing the deal with Hamelgild, time flew. Enlistment day arrived. At camp, relief hit. This was my life's real reset. My last life was a flop, but this one? Different. Fist clenched, I vowed to devour the Empire, not be devoured.
Soon I hit the 3rd training company's first platoon. No familiar faces. April, my only age mate, must have been yeeted elsewhere. Then a loud voice boomed. "Welcome, everyone!" The guy introduced himself. Platoon leader Brian, 1st platoon. Straight into a gear check. He ordered anyone with contraband, booze, smokes, snacks, to step up and surrender it.
He warned he'd personally have fun with anyone caught hiding stuff. I clocked 2 dudes in the corner, totally sus. One low-key mumbled about quitting smoking, forgot his cigs. The other was like, "Nah, shopkeeper said alcohol ain't banned." I was low-key fuming, silently roasting them for being so clueless, making their stash spot obvious. Ryan ordered everyone to dump their gear, starting the search from my corner.
After clearing my stuff, he paused, clocking my age because I looked way too young. When I dropped I was 13, the whole room went silent, shook. Then some meathead, Kyle, immediately clowned me for even showing up. His buddy jumped in, saying I was just after a free meal ticket. I caught their shade and gave them the death stare. Kyle tried to pick a fight, but I just ghosted him. Not worth the drama.
Still, I memorized his face, one last glare. Right then, I vowed to own him, ensuring he knew a kid did it. As the vibe got tense, a bald, unassuming recruit shivered, goosebumps for no reason. Ryan told him to lay out his stuff. Dude pulled out rags, swearing that was literally all. Ryan leaned in, low and pointed, asking if he needed a personal pat-down.
Dude was shook, instantly unearthing his cleverly hidden stash. Ryan dropped the warning again. Hide anything, and it's laps all night, no cap. Recruits were legit trembling. He barked to empty pockets, and a dozen instantly scrambled. Everyone but me, the GOAT recruit. Inspection done, Brian announced it was time to pick a cadet platoon leader to rep him.
He whipped out the recruit rankings, called my name. Who's Damon? Crickets. Brian low-key guessed Kyle, 'cause he looked way more jacked than the others. But he clocked Kyle's vibe was kinda sus. A leader needs character, not just skill. He still went to Kyle, asked if he was Damon. Before Kyle could spill, I answered from behind them. Ryan looked kinda shook. The top recruit wasn't the muscle-bound one, turning to see who spoke.
He was shook when he clocked it was me, double-checking the list like, "Nah, fam, did I read that right?" He scanned it, asked my age. I confirmed, 13. Kyle, being extra, jumped in, looking down. "A brat like you? No way you're cadet platoon leader. This ain't no playground," he scoffed. Ryan immediately clapped back, but Kyle wouldn't chill. No respect for the chain of command. He stepped closer, arguing image was key, since a cadet platoon leader reps the actual leader. Pointing at my face, he claimed the platoon's discipline would be a total mess with me in charge.
I stayed out of the drama. That position wasn't my jam. Seemed like more hassle than it was worth. But this meathead kept yapping, which totally woke up my competitive streak. Gritting, I decided to own him. I roasted him, saying I'd do a better job than a dude whose brain is just air and muscle. Kyle looked genuinely clapped by the roast, reeling. Brian cut him off, grabbing his shoulder and warning him sharply not to diss a fellow recruit again.
Loudmouth Kyle, who couldn't stop yapping moments ago, was now quaking under Brian's death glare after Brian laid into him with a stern warning. Kyle confirmed. Brian then turned to me, admitting Kyle actually had a point. He explained a cadet platoon leader needs to look the part, matching the authorities vibe. Kyle raised his hand, almost calling me a brat again, but caught himself, remembered Brian's warning, and quickly adjusted his tone.
He straight up challenged me to a sparring match for platoon leader, flexing that it had proved both leadership and skill. Ryan checked if I was down. I accepted, no hesitation. Things were already this extra, so I figured I'd humble these airheads and sort out the platoon's whole vibe. To really get Kyle riled up, I confidently declared I just had to crush one overgrown lump of muscle. That totally set him off. But before he could even clap back, Brian turned to the rest of the platoon, asking if everyone was on board with the bet.
Trainees were all bet. Brian led us to the arena. Leader dropped rules. Stop if they tap out. He asked if we were ready. Kyle and I were. Match started. He even clowned, saying it looked like he was about to beat up a kid.
I clapped back, calling him a meathead. His face instantly went dark. He charged like a bull, yelling he'd mess me up for my big mouth. I clocked he was faster than he looked, almost like my past life squad. But his punch? I dodged it easy.
He knew he was outmatched. Dude looked shook, wondering if I'd read his move. He wrote it off as a fluke, came again, still painfully slow from my POV. He slammed his fists, vowing to grind me, then charged with everything. I calmly closed my eyes, appeared behind him before he processed it, driving a mana-cloaked fist straight into his liver.
Thought that was game over, TBH. But nah, dude, surprised me, charging again in a blind rage, trying to grab me. I dodged, then decided to properly end it, landing another hit on his last good rib. He dropped, then fully collapsed, lights out. I casually dusted my hands, confirming he was actually out cold. Then I looked at the squad, asked if anyone else wanted to catch these hands. The grown men in front of me were legit sweating bullets just from the vibe.
Leader called the match. Just like that, I was officially acting squad leader. Later, the big guy finally left the infirmary, still shook he'd actually passed out and been carried. He couldn't even remember what happened after his ribs met my fist, always thinking no one could touch him. Now he walked back in, head down, all his usual swagger gone. The room's vibe got tense again as Kyle headed for my bed, low-key freaking everyone out.
But then rude Kyle, chill for once, actually said my name. Hey Kyle, then dropped to his knees, admitting defeat and pledging to serve me. I was genuinely shook. Youngest, strongest he'd fought, so pledging was a no-brainer. I thought he was just a thug, but guess he's got layers. I reached out my hand, told him to ditch the formalities, just call me Damon. Smiling, I suggested we squat up. He was hyped. A week post-enlistment, we'd been grinding hard. The leader finally wrapped the session, sending everyone to barracks, but told me to follow him. My brain was buffering. What was up? At the admin office, other rookies were already there. I parked my curiosity, figuring I'd get the deets soon.
A scrawny, mantis-looking soldier tried to clown me. I almost cackled, imagining Kyle absolutely bodying him. He caught me staring, snapped, "What you looking at?" I hit back, just curious if your eyes could pop out further. That sent him spiraling. Other soldiers were low-key losing it. The supervisor told us to chill. Mantis Boy mumbled he'd get me later.
Supervisor spilled the tea. An interplatoon battle comp next week, a major midterm eval for each platoon. He told all cadet leaders to prep their units, then dismissed us to dorms. Leaving, Mantis Guy was waiting by the office door, fist raised, clearly ready to throw hands for my back talk. Before he could swing, another cadet leader stepped in, reamed him for disrespecting a fellow leader, telling him to chill and head back to his platoon.
Mantis told the dude to chill, but he wasn't having it, saying it was still TBD who'd win. My new friend told me to ghost Mantis and bounce, so I did.
But first, I asked Mantis for his platoon. 4th platoon, he flexed. Before he could spill his name, I cut him off, promising to settle it at the group battle. Walking away, my new friend dropped my name. I was shook, wondering how he knew. Turns out he heard about my exam from April, who's in his platoon.
Gerard, 3rd platoon's cadet leader, introduced himself, hyped to see my moves in the group battle. I told him, bet. Back at my platoon, I called everyone together to spill the news. Once I had their focus, I told them about the inter-platoon battle next week. Our 1st platoon has to take 1st place, no cap. We're absolutely bodying the 4th platoon, especially their acting squad leader, Praying Mantis.
By week 2, the whole vibe of training changed. The instructor gathered us, spilling the tea on the upcoming comp. He said from now on, we'd be learning formations to absolutely slay. Even though it's a team game, he dropped that individual standout plays would snag extra points. Everyone was instantly hyped. I knew right then that dangling those points was a genius move. Everyone's main goal? Get that score to secure their dream branch later. No cap.
Instructor broke down the wedge formation, an offensive setup for punching through enemy lines. Basically a giant arrow, designed for max damage. Big flaw, frontline folds, the whole thing folds. But if the spearhead stayed solid, it could go nuclear. Luckily, our squad had Kyle, literally built for that tip spot.
Instructor split the platoon for formation practice. Kyle led one group, I led the other. He grinned, declaring he wasn't about to lose. Gathering my squad, I dropped some formation tips. Someone, Shuck, asked if I'd done this before. I hit him with my usual lie. My late soldier dad taught me. I laid out the game plan. The troop was like, bet, this is solid, committing to go all out.
I set up our strongest right behind me, with the shorter ones on the flanks, shields up high. Kyle's team was playing super defensive, but I wasn't worried. My plan was to just smash through. I hyped up my squad. 1 shot, let's end this. The instructor yelled, go, and we went full send. Honestly, I was low-key surprised how well they moved for a first try. I kept hyping them as we closed in. The moment our shields clashed, I popped mana, reinforcing myself. Push harder, I yelled, aiming for the gaps, just like we planned.
The plan, exploit their gaps, throw them into chaos. Total W. Their squad was scrambling, clueless who'd cover the breaches we'd already punched through. We found our opening quick, spears tripping them, sending their formation crashing. Kyle was still yelling at his squad to get up as I closed in, forcing a shield lock. He froze, tried to throw me off, telling me to back off. I let him. Moment he lost balance, I saw my chance, slammed my shield into him.
I told him he was built like a Greek god, but needed to learn how to actually flex it. The instructor watched, low-key shook by my fire moves. Despite my small frame, my vibe made Kyle doubt I was just a recruit. With their main taken out, the instructor called the match, my team clutching the W. I helped Kyle up. He vowed to get me next round.
Instead of moping about the L, his squad started grilling me on my plays, curious if they could cop my strategy for the comp. Later, I saw platoon members sticking around after drills to grind extra. That had me grinning. If this kept up, the competition would be no biggie. Then the usual loudmouths from 4th platoon showed up again, spouting off, dissing my squad and calling them trash for following a flop like me. Kyle and the others caught wind of it, but they couldn't believe anyone was talking smack about me like that.
4th platoon's leader, that Mantis guy, doubled down, calling me a brat and dissing his own squad. Low-key, I wondered if he just needed a beatdown. Not taking the bait, my plan, own him hard in the squad comp, crushing his team. I was about to tell my platoon to bounce, but Kyle and the crew yelled back at 4th platoon, "You're cooked once the comp hits."
My squad was legit fuming over insults, hyped to teach the other platoon a lesson on the field. I didn't even say anything, but the team was already hyped to throw down. Honestly, that was peak motivation. Later, Raymond, head instructor, told Barris, company commander, this batch had serious talent, naming Apple and me. Barris asked what made us special. Raymond explained he'd observed us both manipulating mana.
Barus was shook, immediately asking if we were noble-born. Raymond spilled the tea. We were just basic commoners. Barus was low-key confused. Mana manipulation was bougie, usually for elites. Peeping the docs, he noted I'd enlisted after losing my parents, and Appel's sitch was similar, making him even more sus. Then the supervisor dropped a bomb, drama earlier involving me. Some cadet leaders were throwing shade, not vibing with my age as acting squad leader. My squad, though, was like, nah, fam.
RS was shook 1st Platoon actually accepted me as leader. Supervisor confirmed, even calling it kinda sus, kinda interesting. That sparked his idea to level up the challenge. He pitched his plans to the supervisor, who looked sketched out, worried it might backfire. He shrugged it off. If our unit's vibe was strong, we'd clutch whatever came. Then, with a low-key, creepy grin, he ordered training intensity to go max. Meanwhile, some of my squad couldn't shake the feeling of being low-key watched.
Barusa's order dropped, and my squad got sus. Crawling drills got added. Trainees thought it was overkill for beefing with 4th Platoon. Kyle straight up asked if that was the reason. Given the timing, I knew the real tea. I kept the squad's vibes up, told them it wasn't our circus if training got amped. We didn't sign up to play games. They admitted drills would hit hard, but I reassured them grinding it out would make us built different, with more stamina than any other platoon.
My squad heard the conviction in my voice and instantly knew slacking off was a no-go. I warned them it'd be rough, total new territory, but I'd guide them to push properly. Someone joked about crawling on bare gravel. I shot back, expecting a mattress out here? Kyle looked shook by how chill I was, like I'd done this a million times. Low-key, I kinda had. My past life? Just endless hours face down, trying not to unalive. But low-key, those crawling drills weren't just about training. Regular drills were already a grind. Adding crawling meant everyone would be scraped up, tempers would flare, and platoons would start beefing. The real tea? Command wanted to see how units handled that stress, especially pitting 1st and 4th platoons against each other. As squad leader, I wasn't about to let this obvious setup slide, so I told everyone to grab their socks. They just stared like, socks, for real. I told them I'd prove how socks could be clutch lifesavers during our crawling drill. The next day, 1st Platoon hit the crawling section, meeting Instructor Nilsson. His assistant showed us the low crawl, flat, spear straight, moving with opposite hand and knee. Nilsson pointed to the obstacle course, saying, "From now on, this is how we clear it. Ready?" We roared back, "Bet." Nilsson looked kind of shook by our hype, especially compared to the last squad. He gave the signal. We got low under the barbed wire, crawling across the gnarly ground. Even Nilsson was low-key confused by these crawling drills so early, week 2 instead of week 4. He couldn't compute Bruce's vibe, knowing how next-level brutal crawling on gravel is. He expected us to struggle, but we were already crushing the course. He was shook, not expecting first-timers to slay like that. Still processing, the next group asked when to start. He gave the order, they dove in. Nilsson just stood there like they were going feral, moving so aggressively. I saw his shocked face and knew the tea. He didn't expect the trainees to ace it first try. Course cleared, Kyle and others rushed over, hyped how easy it felt, admitting they faked pain for the optics. Ground stung a bit, NGL, but that sock hack, total game changer. Squad hyped me up, forward called me a genius. Drill done, back to barracks. Kyle asked about the trick, told him, as always, it's from my dad, IYKYK. His dad's extra tip, never get caught by the instructor. Kyle cackled, slapping my back hard, like, facts, universal rule. I wondered if he was low-key payback for all the crap. Either way, relieved crawling drills were finally donezo. Shield and spear training next, hyped to finally master the kingdom's goat spear art. People slept on this spear art, calling it basic next to noble techniques. They didn't realize maxing it out made it just as OP. Most just dipped after the basics, no cap. In my past life, this art was my only path, my whole vibe. Grinding like my life depended on it eventually paid off. That's when I met my old master, who pushed me to level up. Wonder if that stubborn old man's still the same, hikey hoping we cross paths again soon. Just then, we bumped into 4th Platoon, post-brutal training. They looked trashed, griping it was wild. Their leader snapped chill, but they clapped back, telling him not to talk down. To them, he was just a squad leader. My squad, seeing their mess, realized how my tricks totally saved us. The 1st Platoon cracked up, while the 4th Platoon was shook, wondering how we aced the same drill. Our chill vibes just made their squad leader even madder, convinced we pulled some shady stuff. He decided to save his beef for the platoon competition, just days away.
Comp day finally hit. Platoons assembled. We heard the matchup brackets were dropping soon. Kyle clocked something different about me. I just joked, "Yo, did I glow up overnight?" which got the squad cracking up. Turns out Kyle wasn't wrong, though. Last night, I finally unlocked Stage 2 of the Delft Mana cultivation method, giving my mana reserves a massive buff.
Grateful. All the grinding in this camp, not wasted. It hit different. I told Kyle, dead serious, we needed to clutch this win by a landslide. Top 5 performers in our platoon get to pick any gear from the armory. Most recruits were hyped for one-time protection gear, but that's C rank at best. Honestly, not my vibe. What I was actually after? A specific ring a past life homie told me about.
Supposedly, this ring had a special ability, making it B rank or higher. To cop it, I'd need to clutch the competition, no cap. Hell, with all mana, got first pick. I was low-key stressed he'd snagged the ring. I hit up Kyle about the task. He instantly said bet. He clapped, hyped the squad with my determination. Everyone instantly pumped. I breathed a sigh of relief, glad we were all vibing. Instructors called first platoon to announce our opponents.
The comp, they said, was OD rounds. Roles flip after the first bout for 2 total matches. Failed to cap the enemy flag in time? Instant L. We're up against second platoon. They're on offense first, we're D. Told my squad to stick to the strat. Kyle, you got your part down?
I told him, on my signal, go full send, push hard. He was like, strength, bet. Match started. Second platoon charged, but our formation was locked in. No crumbs for them. They got big mad, couldn't find an inch. Even the instructors were shook, thinking our setup would leave us totally stuck. Signal dropped, everything flipped. Our platoon went full send, pushing as one. Second platoon was caught lacking, suddenly bodied backward, forced defensive despite being the attackers. I called Kyle. He understood the assignment. He yeeted the guy, leaving the opposing team shook. He rallied our squad to link up, driving the line forward. Their leader was mind-blown by our sync.
The second I saw a gap, I called for a full-on charge. Even the other instructors were low-key shook, asking Brian if we had some secret sauce. Brian was like, "Frah, I'm just as surprised." He was low-key baffled how a basic squad was hitting elite soldier levels. But he knew exactly who was the main character behind that performance.
Seeing the platoon instantly respond to my every instruction, Brian realized our extra after-hours training totally slayed. Ryan low-key smiled, super proud. He'd been worried about trusting a kid with a whole platoon, but watching this, it was definitely the move. As the match wore on, Kyle zeroed in on his real target, the flag bearer, giving him his full attention. The flag bearer was shook the moment he spotted Kyle pulling up, screaming at his squad to do whatever to gatekeep him.
They scrambled to block Kyle, but something was sus. He'd totally stopped. He flexed, saying they'd walked right into his trap. Before they could ask, I popped out from behind him, using his shoulder to yeet myself at their flag bearer. My wind spear landed a clean hit, sending him sprawling just as the clock hit 0. Offensive side fumbled the bag, so first platoon secured the W.
Instructors called a quick break before switching roles for Bout 2. Most were genuinely impressed, already thinking first platoon would sweep the tourney. But one instructor pointed out another platoon, equally dominant, dropping a "we might actually have real competition" bomb. Turns out it was third platoon, absolutely owning their opponents, like the other side never even trained. The opposing squad leader tried hyping his team, but they were already cooked. Low-key salty, their leader was chilling in the back. Gerard thought it was go time, seeing them gassed, but Apple said, "Nah, just hold the line and let them burn out."
Gerard played along, low-key shook by how Apple, so young, could just read opponents like that. After only 2 weeks, it was obvious Apple was built different, not your average kid. Trusting the vibe, Gerard told his squad to hold position. The 4th platoon got super pressed, yelling for them to stop chilling and actually engage. Soon, Gerard saw the 4th platoon was totally gassed. He gave the order to push. 3rd platoon came in hot, sending 4th platoon reeling, shook. As they stumbled, Gerard gave Epple the green light to finish it. Epple pulled the same move I did, lunging with a mana-infused strike straight into their formation. Their squad scattered. Their leader was visibly shook, realizing they were cooked.
No shot at first platoon, period. He glanced my way, caught me staring back. My face, it screamed, GG, no re.
Apel and his squad absolutely bodied their opponents, wiping them out. Low-key, Apel was built different. He was shaping up to be a serious challenge, and I realized the real decider would be against 3rd Platoon. Once the break was over, the instructor called us back to the training grounds. Kyle reminded me 4th Platoon was next. I confirmed, noting this was their last shot at points, so they'd be desperate. Kyle said that made it spicy, since he was hyped to take down the dude who called me a brat.
I told him to just focus on breaching their lines. To the squad, I said our opponents were gassed and their coordination was sus. I made it clear we're not holding back. We're gonna absolutely crush 4th Platoon. The team was hyped, ready to make them pay for all the cap. Stay sharp, we're ending this before they even know what hit them.
Match start. Locked eyes with their squad leader. Saw the fear, plain as day. I smirked. Instructors yelled, "Go!" Honestly, 4th Platoon's formation was sloppy AF. We could have YOLO'd through their gaps, but I wanted a total flex, ensuring they'd never challenge us again. Sent Kyle in first. He full sprinted their lines, hyped AF. They tried to stop him, but his strength bodied them.
Their squad leader was scrambling, trying to get his guys to actually form a wall against me. He was too busy barking orders to even notice me dropping in from above. As I descended like something out of a nightmare, I reminded him I told him I wouldn't forget what he'd done. Sweat dripped as I landed a kick straight into him, sending him to the ground. But instead of chilling, he doubled down, convinced this was now a one-on-one he could actually win. He grabbed his spear, swung aggressively, but I dodged it easily, caught the shaft, and asked him, low-key mocking, if that was really all he had.
Before he could even register it, I snatched the spear from his grip, then drove it into him, making him scream. He hit the dirt. I stood over him, telling him dropping his weapon mid-fight was basically asking for it. Remember that lesson, I warned. It might save him later. Then, mana infused, I landed one punch to his head, hard enough to make him cough blood.
He got one shot. Honestly, the fight was kinda mid, way too easy. The 4th Platoon's instructor swooped in, checking on the downed recruit. With his team out, it was an auto win for us. Kyle said it felt genuinely refreshing, a whole vibe. The 4th Platoon was left shook, wondering how I clutched that with such skill. The instructors couldn't deny it. They agreed I was a prodigy. One even hinted I might be built different, maybe better than them. Just as they clocked that, an overwhelming presence dropped in behind them.
Something interesting happening? They whipped around, shook, to find an eye-patch dude staring them down. Leon Hark Belka, 3rd Division's instructor. Instructor snapped to attention instantly. Leon Hark asked Brian, "That the kid you mentioned?" Pointing to me, getting yeeted by my hype teammates.
Ryan confirmed it. Leon Hark just grinned, like, finally, someone interesting showed up. Later, back at the barracks with my squad, someone burst in. A total VIP visited during the match, a legend even among the instructors. My ears perked up. I asked for his name. The dude fumbled it, but I pieced it together. Leon Hark. He confirmed. My eyes lit up. Before anyone could stop me, I was out of there. Gotta see this myself.
Ran into Leon Hark and Brian. Leon Hark instantly clocked me as the kid Brian was hyping. Brian started to say they were trying to find me, but I saluted. Big confirm. 3rd Division was low-key connected to 3rd Training Camp.
Never thought I'd actually run into Leon Hark. Camp's usually miles away, so I wasn't even looking out for him. Leon Hark, my master from my past life. He asked if I was Damon, low-key wondering if even strict Raymond was actually vibing with someone like me. He clocked my cultivation method, mentioned seeing solid technique earlier, and asked if I had a unit in mind. I told him straight up, the Neo-Collets unit. Both he and Raymond were shook at my answer. Neo-Collets, a 3rd Division unit suppressing monsters from the Brotherian Forest, is known as the most dangerous gig, with casualties every single year. No cap.
He asked why, noting most recruits just wanted the chill admin life. I just said, gotta get stronger. That piqued his interest. He offered a knighthood rec, but Raymond reminded him, nobles only. I thanked him, but my decision was locked in. Seeing I wouldn't budge, he told me to bounce. Raymond yowled about the major L I just took.
This spot, usually gate-kept from normies, but my instructor vouched. I tried to say I got what I was ditching, but he just wasn't seeing the grind in my eyes. He laughed, like, who is this kid at 13? Told Raymond to chill, knowing we'd link up again if I stayed in the 3rd Division. Next day, 1st versus 3rd platoons. I told my squad the 3rd wouldn't be easy, but guaranteed no one here could touch us.
Kyle and the crew were hyped, grinning. I told him we'd own this platoon, just like all the others. Instructor announced 3rd platoon first. Match started, I instantly called our defensive play. Apel and his squad lead watched, clocking our usual 4th platoon setup. Leader reminded Apel his role was clutch, then gave the advance order.
Clash! I yelled for my squad to push back. Their leader clocked our same old moves, then dropped his plan. Apel, forward. His squad split, letting him through. I was shook, wondering their play. Apel went full beast mode on my guys, giving me chills. Seeing the opening, 3rd platoon's leader ordered his crew to push through. Kyle, a real one, charged in, blocking them solo.
Thanks to Kyle, we held the line. Apel was seriously OP, one-shotting a shield bearer. But even he was shook, staring at this absolute unit from 3rd platoon, wondering why Kyle was even there. Hours earlier, I'd told Kyle, focus entirely on Apel. If you can hold him off, nothing else on the field breaks us.
He asked who Apel was. I said he'd know when the match dropped. 3rd platoon leader asked Apel if he could even break through. Apel paused. Brute force against Kyle? Nah. One move only. He yeeted forward, massive strike into Kyle. I held firm, blocked it. He went into a flurry, striking again and again until the shield gave out.
Going for the final hit, Kyle prepped to block, but I stepped in, tanking the strike with my aura. We locked eyes, then the whistle blew. Kyle and I turned, kinda shook, as the instructor announced 3rd platoon fumbled the flag, giving us the W. April clocked it was all on Kyle, thinking this match would be an easy dub.
I checked in with Kyle, asking if he was good. Dude looked totally wiped, so I told him to chill for the next round. He pushed back, but I was like, bro, 2 more weeks. Crash now, you're done. So I tasked him with guarding the center flag. Only person I trusted with that vibe. He got I was looking out for him, letting him save face. He took the flag, promising no one would touch it.
Instructor called for a switch. I told my squad, on fumes, I know, but final round. We're on offense, no dragging this out. 5 minutes, flags ours, total victory in 5 flat. Platoons prepped for showdown.
Showdown. I'm setting my own benchmark. I've already shown my stuff as a cadet in earlier matches, but this time I gotta flex my individual skills and really impress the instructors. Facing a contender like Apel, this is the perfect stage. A win here pretty much guarantees me the top trainee spot. I clocked Apel guarding the flag himself. He totally gassed out in the first half, so holding the front line like before isn't happening. Still, no cap, a direct clash with him is inevitable before this battle ends.
Instructor dropped the order. 1st platoon on offense, 3rd on D. I told my squad, full send from 2nd 1. Stay locked in, follow my lead. They confirmed. We went absolutely feral, charging like a bull, catching 3rd platoon totally off guard. Gerard yelled, don't sleep on him, ordering shields up. He turned to warn them to watch me specifically, but I was already right there.
Their focus on me was an L. I juiced my spear with mana, ready to obliterate their D. One hit, it hit. Their front line folded, no cap. As they scrambled, I twisted the mana-charged spear, widening the breach. Once clear, I called my platoon to push. 3rd platoon plugged the breach.
Their D was cooked. Spears swarmed me, but I'd already ghosted past before they could land, leaving them just clashing weapons against thin air. Big L. Their front line? Toast. I called for the squad to link up. Boom, we were already front and center at 3rd platoon's main line. Gerard was shook, couldn't compute how we closed that fast. Epple, though, was not even clocking the rest of my squad.
He reminded Gerard, I'm the main target. Keep me contained. 1st platoon won't ever clutch their flag. He's handling me personally, passing the flag to Gerard with a guard this directive. Gerard looked low-key stressed, maybe salty relying on a younger teammate. I felt a knot of unease watching Apel approach for the final showdown.
Facing a dude who was literally the grand general in my past life,
Apple went full send. I braced. This was my one shot to test myself against a legend. Dodged his first strike. Instantly clocked it was a feint. Still adjusting, he struck again, but I saw through that one too. We paused, waiting. Silently, I was like, "Bro, stop holding back. I'm going all out." I went first, he blocked. No chill. I came at him again, and he blocked that too. But this time, my mana spear almost shattered his. He was visibly shook. He was low-key questioning if I was a commoner, totally baffled by my mana control. Like, how did talent like this pop up from some backwater camp?
After hounding him, I paused, declaring it over. I channeled everything into one final strike. I told him straight up he couldn't block it. It hit him totally by surprise. The shockwave alone yeeted him, slamming him down, clutching his chest. I didn't waste the opening, booked it straight for their camp, snagging the flag. Through his blurred vision, Abel could barely see it. The flag, now totally out of reach. I snagged the flag first, securing the W for first platoon, while Abel just watched. Flag secured, I helped him up, telling him he legit put up a good fight. He congratulated me back, vowing he'd never take an L against me again. I said I hoped next time we'd be on the same team, not beefing. Joked I probably couldn't clutch a win like that again.
He told me to chill. Still can't believe I clapped him. Low-key, what if this L just powers him up? Nah, for now, just gonna vibe and enjoy this W. Raymond, watching, already planned to make sure the trainees went full send for the final 2 weeks.
Leon Hark agreed, but suggested they chill and enjoy the win first. Seriously, first platoon got a feast we never thought we'd see at camp. Steak, chicken, every fire dish imaginable, laid out. Instantly, the whole comp felt worth it. Everyone just went for it. Looking around, Leon Hark was gone. Kinda wished I'd had more time to chat.
Instructor popped over, asking if yesterday's decision still stood. Told him nothing changed. He pushed, saying Leonhardt offered Abel the same deal, and Abel totally went for it. I told him I respected Abel's choice, but it's his life, his vibe. Instructor scoffed, finally realizing I wasn't swayed.
He toasted us, warning of more grind ahead, but low-key wishing me luck on my chosen path. The squad also raised their glasses, toasting the kingdom. Time flew by, and soon we hit the final week of training. I noticed a real vibe shift among trainees, not just my squad. The whole camp leveled up, proving the squad competition was the catalyst it needed to be.
During a break, Kyle asked what went down with 4th Platoon. Apparently, their morale's been in the mud since the comp. Dropouts are wild. Their squad leader, he said, was the first to dip. I told him I wasn't shocked, just low-key disappointed. Then I reminded Kyle and the others, we still got real problems. Group scores are one thing, but individual scores are low-key crucial for placement. Everyone's simping for the Royal Palace, the ultimate commoner flex. Out of 160 recruits, only 30 can apply, and only a third get the gig. Kyle thought it was brutal. I told him, duh, that's why most enlist. Kyle grabbed my arm, asking if I was gunning for Royal Admin. I told him, nah, I'm not trying to be near that palace.
He asked why, noting my score could easily snag a top spot. I asked Kyle if he actually wanted to be a royal admin. That's just palace locked 24/7. He admitted it sounded draining, but since it was the best gig, he figured why not? I told him, you'd peace out in a month. You're built different, gotta flex your strength. He then asked where I was headed.
When I dropped Neo Callets, the whole squad went feral. Kyle turned to the others like, bro's lost it. So I kicked his leg. Be serious. His vibe instantly changed. He said my recklessness was why he liked me. Break over, back to training. Soon, discharge day hit.
Rue addressed the trainees, hyping everyone to keep grinding post-camp to serve the kingdom. We all saluted, showing solidarity. Raymond then dropped the top 5 trainees. Obs, I clutched the number 1 spot. Smiling, low-key proud I pulled it off. Apple was P2, followed by Kyle, Gerard, and Alex, our 2nd platoon's leader.
Raymond told the 5 of us to follow him. Reward, we each pick 1 piece of gear from the armory. Once there, he said I'd go first. I walked in hyped. This was my moment. The armory was low-key super organized.
My eyes were peeled for any hidden gems, but nothing else was giving worth it vibes.
I went straight for the ring. Seeing it, everything clicked. No cap, I was instantly hooked. This ring grants brief invisibility with mana. Only Apple from the top 5 would even get it. He's the only other mana user.
After I dipped, Paul was up next. I'd snagged his usual pick in my past life, so I was low-key curious what he grabbed. He came out fast, holding something sus. My face instantly gave it away. Kyle clocked it, asked what's up, but I just brushed it off. Turns out, it was a seal from a fallen kingdom.
Apal's mana skills always had me shook. Now I'm thinking he's linked to that fallen kingdom, low-key. Once everyone picked their gear, Raymond shut the armory doors. He asked Apal if he even knew what he grabbed. Apal just said he felt divine energy. Raymond confirmed it was legit. The seal wards off bad vibes. He gave props to Gerard's solid spear, then Kyle's shield, crafted by Walter.
He turned to me like, "You really satisfied with just the ring? All it does is cut weight, right?" I was shook. He told me to try it. The second I did, my weight instantly dropped. When he asked, I was like, "OMG, this slaps. Way better than I thought. Invisibility and weight loss? This artifact is peak."
Everyone hyped with choices, Raymond yeeted us to file apps. Soon, in his office, he dropped forms. I filled mine, no cap, picking Neocly. Raymond looked low-key bummed I didn't change my mind. After I handed it back, he told me to stay safe, spilling the tea on Neoclitz's danger.
He gave me a head pat, thanking me for the grind this month, saying I could bounce once official deets dropped. I thanked him again and dipped. Outside, I felt low-key conflicted about Neocalids. Apple then rolled up, big mad about my posting, demanding why I didn't pick the night order. I just told him, nah, not my vibe.
Annoyed, he dropped he'd joined the night order, even snagging a rec letter from Leon Hark. I said he'd crush it, but he was salty, calling out me hyping a path I'd ghosted. He called me Wilden, then warned Neocalitz was sketch, so stay safe. We dapped up, promised to link up, then he dipped after a deep goodbye. Watching him peace out, I wondered if he knew he was destined to be the Baroque Kingdom's Grand General.
Post-duel, I low-key realized he might even outdo my past life self. No cap, I was hyped to see future General Apple Van Streel glow up. Anyway, I went to say bye to the platoon. At the dorm, boys were packing. Kyle blocked my path, assuming I'd ghost them. I told him that wasn't the vibe.
We didn't know when we'd link up again. He said I'd see him sooner, which confused me, but he just brushed it off. Then he yeeted me center for my farewell speech. I gave a huge shout-out to the squad for their grind, thanking them for riding with me, telling them to keep leveling up. They cheered, hyped me up, hoping we'd reconnect. I wished them good vibes. Just as I was about to dip from camp, a voice hollered. It was Dia.
She greeted me, then we dipped to Hamel Guild for an investment update. She handed over docs detailing fund usage. The projected return was a solid 3% of net revenue, per our terms. NGL, I was low-key impressed by her thoroughness. Everything was super clear, no cap. After review, she asked for questions. I told her, this report slaps, no questions needed. I told her to proceed as planned. My inheritance money would be delivered soon.
She suggested a formal contract. I turned it down, saying contracts are for when trust is sus, and I trusted her. That low-key surprised her. She called me kinda weird. Soon, an employee brought a small box of investment funds. I asked her to verify. When she opened it, she was shook. We agreed on 300 gold, but the box had way over 500. Numbers were off, so she wanted to rework our deal, my cut especially. I cut her off. The extra was just my appreciation. You treated me like a real one, not some noob kid. Once sorted, she asked where my main unit was going, fresh out of basic. I told her west, to the Nakalitz unit near Bronzerian Forest. She looked shook, asking if I'd actually signed up for that.
I asked her, half joking, if she really thought anyone could force the camp's top trainee. Then I added, no cap, if I dipped, the investment's hers. That joke didn't land. She just told me flat out to cut it. I was shook by her serious reaction, thinking she was just a sweet, simple girl. She asked when I was leaving. I said 3 days. Then she bounced, promising my investment would be put to good use.
Investment secured. I took 3 days to vibe before dipping. Feasted, went wild, even crashed on the street once. It was a vibe. 3 days later,
Go time for the Neo call unit. Checked my gear, prepped for the journey ahead. About to bounce, Kyle pulled up with his bags, reminding me of his promise. We'd link up soon. I instantly clocked his vibe. Grinning, he smung an arm over me, spilling he'd applied for Neo collets, not wanting our camp bond to end. Just as we were about to dip, a voice yelled, "Hold up!" We turned to find Deal, totally winded, thanking her luck for catching us. I was genuinely shook, asking what brought her here.
She clued me in. Neil Kalitz was way out there. She'd already hooked up a carriage, fully stocked with essentials for my arrival.
I was shook, asking why she went so hard. She copied my hand gesture, saying it was just like how I paid her back. The Hamel Guild always squares up, she said, which is why she personally sorted the carriage for 2 days. Kyle was low-key bugging out at her generosity. She blushed, claiming it was just an investment, since I told her to do more for them later.
I legit cackled, thinking, bruh, she's a terrible liar. NGL, that just made her more intriguing. I hit her with a later, then hopped in the carriage. Kyle and I just dipped, leaving her.
Kyle got motion sick fast. I told him walking would have been way worse. Spotted the garrison, knew we'd finally hit Urkel. He asked where locals were. Anai sighed, saying they were hiding from monsters or grinding in Bronzarian forest. Most Urkel residents gathered Amancho, a sus erg. Raw, it caused fever and the runs, but refined, it's a potent painkiller base. Over half the kingdom's Amancho came from here, so residents had to risk it, despite the forest's danger. I told Kyle we needed to dip to our unit, booking it through empty streets. He spotted our compound, totally shook, wondering if anyone even lived in that near-collapsing building. Then I caught a whiff of blood. I quietly told him, "Someone's coming." Through the thick fog, a squad emerged. Their faces screamed, "Been through it," yet they still rocked my unit's emblem. They ghosted past us, eyes blazing. We just watched them dip into the building. Kyle was shook, legit thought they were ghosts. I sighed, told him to get used to it. Here, survival's the daily grind. Then a past life memory unlocked. Me, front of my squad, asking what a soldier's most important duty was. They spouted the usual cringe, lined straight out of some overdramatic war flick. I decked one, and when he asked why him, I plainly said his answer was the worst. I told them dying wasn't the point. They needed to stop treating their lives so carelessly. Survival was the main quest, no cap. Gotta get buff enough so dying isn't even on the menu. Still see their faces, clear as day, even though they all ended up ghosting for good. "Ugh," I told Kyle. "Time to dip inside." He paused, but I hit him with the "why we're here" speech again. We're here to glow up, not stand around looking sus. He started to spill more worries, but I'd already bounced, making him jog to keep up. Meanwhile, the soldiers, fresh from battle, were big mad about the L's they took. The garrison straight up capped, said small orc unit, but they ran into a whole organized force. Most of these guys were court-martialed, so dipping out? Nah, not an option. Their only choice? Permaban to a cell or fight for their lives, no matter the cost. Charleston almost lost an arm. Commander Terran suggested hitting up the temple for a priest. One soldier reminded him priests' fees were wild, way out of their pay grade. No cap, Terran instantly pulled out a pouch with 20 gold coins, telling them to put it on the bill. The room went dead silent. Everyone shook. That cash was literally for his mom's surgery. He just brushed it off, saying she was chill. Surgery could wait. Seeing their commander's selfless move, the squad started chipping in too. Even rookie DNL wouldn't back down, arguing Charleston got hurt protecting him, period. Terran teared up, calling him an admirable little fool. A guy dipped out for the priest. Terran asked DNL his age that year. 18, he replied. Terran mused it had been a year since DNL joined. If Charleston clutches it, DNL would finally not be the noob. Just then, a soldier mentioned Terran's new recruits were here. The room's vibe instantly shifted. Terran was like, "OMG, I totally spaced. Battle was brutal." He called Dionel. "Time to check out our juniors." Soon after, Kyle and I reported to Terran. He gave us a careful once-over. He clocked Kyle as capable, built solid. But me? He was bugging about a kid in such a sketch place. He asked my age, just to double check. I confirmed 13, no cap. He couldn't fathom why someone so young would sign up, 5 years younger than the unit's youngest, Diane L. Wild. As Taryn processed, Kyle flexed that I aced our training camp. Taryn was not impressed. First place meant nada here, he said. Training camp and Neo Khaled's unit were different vibes.
I told him I got it. He was still low-key confused why I even showed up. He then called Daniel, told him to assign bunks and cleaning duty. Daniel led us off to the dorms, explaining no formal ranks in the Neo Khal unit. Beneath Commander Tarn and his vice, seniority was just who arrived first. We rolled up to the dorms a few minutes later. The room was a hot mess. Deanel told us to grab any lockers, since we probably wouldn't need them long anyway. Kyle, confused, asked what he meant. Deanel just pointed out he'd been here a full year, still the youngest, telling Kyle to do the math. Kyle, no math whiz, started to snarkily ask how he was supposed to figure it out, but Deanel just straight up kicked his shin before he could finish. As Kyle clutched his leg, Deanel flatly explained, "What I meant was simple. Everyone who arrived after me, dead."
He dipped, promising to spill the tea later, but ordered immediate unpacking and barracks cleaning. Kyle low-key cursed once he bounced. I just chuckled, finding the vibe amusing. He clocked it, asked what was funny, and I poker-faced. Then I was like, seriously, nothing's changed here. Major deja vu vibes.
I told him it was time for cleaning duty, which totally caught him lacking. But low-key, I was hyped to deep clean this place. I handed Kyle a rag, telling him, we gotta make it sparkle, no cap, clean enough to lick the floor. Kyle looked absolutely shook. Was I really seeing him as some kind of human vacuum? Meanwhile, at the unit's military store, Dianel waited for his order, mind drifting to the new recruits. He wasn't hyped for newbies at all, having lost too many over the years, leaving him scarred. He'd stopped getting close to new arrivals. Watching them die on the battlefield after getting attached had totally drained him. Yet Damon and Kyle, especially Damon, kept nagging at him.
Damon's gaze during their first meeting hit different, almost like recognition. The storekeeper's voice snapped him back, his shoe repair done. He thanked the man. As he reached for them, the storekeeper asked about those 2 clueless-looking recruits who'd passed through. Daniel confirmed it. The storekeeper said he knew their vibe instantly. After a beat, Daniel grabbed his shoes, heading out to check on his juniors, already planning to humble them early.
Motivation, confidence, pride? Around here, those just shorten your lifespan. He hit the dorms, low-key hoping they hadn't botched something as simple as cleaning. Instead, walking in left him shook. The room gleamed spotless, with me looking cheerful, like cleaning was my main character energy. He stood frozen. Other soldiers wandered in, equally gobsmacked. One joked Dianel must have gone hard on the noobs to make the barracks look brand new. Dianel scrambled to explain he hadn't lifted a finger himself.
And get this, I walked up, all smiles, flexing we'd finished the cleaning task, asking if you wanted to inspect it. That just made him more sus. Rookies usually half-assed these chores, not scrub the place spotless, no cap. It clicked. Was this some elaborate passive-aggressive clapback? Moments later, Taryn arrived, busting out laughing, genuinely impressed how we glowed up the barracks.
Other soldiers were shook. Taryn was always serious, no chill. He stopped laughing, then asked if we actually cleaned the whole place. We confirmed, and he was like, why so extra, beyond a quick wipe down? I told him Dianel ordered it, we just followed. Years on the battlefield, where life or death was a split-second vibe check, Taryn learned to suss people out.
Kyle, he could totally glow up into a legit combat soldier with some training. But he couldn't clock my vibe, no matter how hard he tried. He was low-key wondering why the camp's top grad would even bother with this mess. He figured I had a main character reason for being here, low-key curious to spill the tea on my why. Parking that thought, Taryn called attention, slung an arm around Kyle and me, telling the squad to properly welcome us, no cap, and make us feel at home. My mind kept buffering back to my past life, to a barracks night with Dianel, when he'd asked if the war would ever actually be over.
I legit thought about it, then told him it'd only end when we surrendered. Dianel was like, don't dip before I do. And I was like, "Bro, don't even joke." He took it as a promise anyway. Looking back, I never gave him a real answer. Still, I kept that promise. Kind of, outliving him on the battlefield. It hits different.
Couldn't sleep, so I dipped into the forest by the barracks to grind my cultivation. Saw someone solo training with a sword. Zoomed in, it was Dianel. No cap, not surprised. He was always grinding in my past life. But what hit different was the great sword he struggled with. Totally mismatched his strength and speed. Not his vibe. Kept my mouth shut, though. Recalled the struggle to swap his weapons before.
Speaking up now, instant beatdown. Decided to let it slide. Weapon swap talk for when the vibes were right. Next morning, soldiers linked up for training at a massive, rugged mountain. One dude, bored before the captain pulled up, suggested betting if the rookies would survive the stamina grind. Everyone was instantly down, throwing down silver coins, betting we'd pass out before training wrapped.
Kyle was low-key fuming over being treated like entertainment. I, though, was shook by this unit's chaos. No one kept these soldiers in line. Over it, I walked right up, Kyle wondering my move. I offered to join their bet, which just got me clowned. They thought I was an easy mark, but I wasn't backing down. I flipped the script, hitting him with new terms.
I whipped out a gold coin, betting it all on myself. Declared I'd absolutely own them all, snatching first place in training, no cap. The vibe check failed instantly. My flex was wild, borderline disrespectful. I asked for any more conditions. They just grinned, thinking they could humble me. One chimed in, if I won, I'd take the whole pot, but if I lost, I'd be doing their laundry for a month. With their L conditions set, I countered. A month of free time during training hours if I clutched the win.
Vibe shifted again. Taryn rolled up, was like bet before objections. He then roped Diana into the bet, though Diana was not feeling it. Taryn roasted him about losing to a junior. Diana said betting on a predictable outcome was a waste. Money was the only hang-up, so Taryn offered to spot his stake. Taryn then promised me the same deal, free training time if I bodied the seniors. He then turned to the others with a harsh warning. Lose to me, and it's a month of brutal training. Y'all better play like your lives depend on it. The soldiers visibly flinched at Taryn's tone, already regretting starting the bet. I watched quietly, satisfied things were unfolding as planned. Free time wasn't the actual point of this bet. I wanted to shake up the rotten vibe in camp, where soldiers were just existing like they could drop any second. Taryn soon dropped the PT bomb. The day's grind, scale the Rocky Mountain peak, hauling a massive log. Soldiers immediately clapped back. Bro, this is for noobs, not OGs like us. Taryn shut them down quick, barking, stop the cap, grab a log already. No cap, they loaded up and started the climb. Minutes in, most were already struggling, low-key wondering why Taryn was switching up the vibe. Someone figured it was about us rookies, another adding we'd probably crash soon, given this brutal climb was our first. But when they checked on us, our spot was empty. They were shook, looking up instead. They spotted me already near the top, wondering how I even got ahead. What they didn't know, this was low-key effortless for me, thanks to my new gear.
This ring? Not just me. It made everything I carried feel weightless. Log felt like a feather, no cap. Seniors? Miles behind. Only Dionel kept pace, which was low-key wild. He was legit struggling, while I was just vibing to the peak. Then, boom, finish line. Everyone was shook, Taryn too. They didn't expect me to totally own Dionel like that. Major plot twist, am I right?
Session over, instantly. He kept his word, warning seniors, brutal training, out of nowhere.
A soldier flagged Taryn, pointing to something sus at the unit. Taryn peeped a red flag over the barracks, a full-on code red. We dipped back pronto. Taryn demanded, spill the tea, why the flag? Turns out, multiple fatalities in the Bronzerian forest. He pressed for IDs and the exact location. Just herb gatherers, caught in the forest's restricted zone. Major yikes.
Aaron, his second, cursed. Like, why do people always go where they're told not to? Taryn asked about the damage in Monster, but the informant said it was unconfirmed. All they knew, gatherers and 6 mercs hit the forbidden zone. no ID on what they ran into. Taryn asked how many could mobilize ASAP. Aaron said about 70, wounded excluded.
Taryn ordered Aaron, only the fully fit, no cap. Exclude anyone even slightly dinged up. Just 50 soldiers, assemble ASAP for the mission. As Aaron went to gather the squad, Taryn got real quiet. The vibes were off. These ops lately, sus. He wondered if the forest itself was glitching, getting worse. Once the healthy soldiers were assembled, Taryn gave the order, gear up, let's roll. Before Taryn could leave, Kyle and I asked to come along, but he noped that real quick. Real combat ain't like practice, fam.
He told us to chill at the barracks, but we weren't having it. I swore I'd just be a pack mule, far from the action, and reminded him how we totally aced morning training. He thought about it, clearly sus about relying on two noobs with the unit's vibe right now. But he caved, told us to haul the extra gear and chill in the back, no actual fighting. As he left, he told Dianel to pass over the spare kit, but Dianel kind of froze when it was time. Then I remembered him telling me a wild forest story, something he swore was cap if he hadn't seen it himself.
A demon-possessed orc soloed a steel wolf, a feat 5 orcs usually couldn't even touch. That one incident, it nuked the Neo-Calit's unit. My memory glitches there, the rest is fuzzy. But things are wild, I gotta see this myself. As we gathered, the leader checked our gear, then reminded us, once deployed, think smart, weigh every possibility, and staying alive is the main quest, no cap. With that, he gave the order to roll out.
Okay, this was it. My first real combat since respawning. Hours later, we hit the Bronzerian forest. Taryn had everyone fan out, searching in trios, staying visible. He kept Kyle and me close as the squad split. The second we crossed into the restricted zone, the forest looked chill but felt like a war zone. Every fiber of my being screamed danger. I knew that feeling instantly from 5 years grinding battlefields in my past life.
Minutes later, a shout from another team. Taryn asked if they'd found anything. They called him over. He rushed to a clearing. Bodies of herb gatherers everywhere. Aaron wondered why weapons were still chilling there if the search party already swept through. Taryn figured they probably dipped fast after seeing this messed up scene. Scanning, he saw massive trees torn apart. What kind of monster did this damage?
Aaron was like, bear monster? Taryn was sus. No way a bear caused this much chaos. Aaron then said ogre, but I pointed to the dead red bear. Def not an ogre. The claw marks on its body? I was like, okay, Aaron's first guess was probably right. Bear monster vibes. The spacing meant it was massive. Only way trees got shredded like this. Torin was low-key impressed, asked where I learned that kind of reasoning.
I told him my dad was a hunter, so even if I wasn't a forest expert, I'd picked up a lot from him. He praised my quick learning, but Kyle just stared, totally confused. He clearly remembered I'd said my dad was a soldier, not a hunter. He looked like he was about to spill the tea until I shot him a look that screamed, "Zip it." Soon after, Taryn told the team to prep for heading back, ordering them to gather the bodies for their families. I was low-key impressed. Pushing deeper now would have been a total death wish. With only crumbs of info, the big brain move was to dip and regroup until we knew the actual vibe. Just as we were about to head back, I felt a sus vibe closing in fast and yelled, "Get down!" No time to react before a massive boulder just yeeted itself out of nowhere, slamming into some of the squad. Once the dust settled, a few were pinned. I called Kyle, and together we heaved the rock off the trapped soldiers while others helped hold it steady. Taryn told the squad to handle the injured. After freeing everyone, Taryn checked injuries, looking stressed. I pulled out an Imancha herb, told him to chew it, said working the juice out would dull pain. Taryn immediately stopped me, like, "Yo, that herb's toxic raw." But I told him to manja fruit seeds totally cancel that. Get the injured chewing it while they're still conscious. Watching them follow through, Taryn was low-key confused how I knew the tea on all this. I told him we needed to dip back to camp ASAP, because whatever yeeted that boulder was still out there. Before I could even finish, a massive bear-coated monster just spawned. The soldiers froze. This thing was built different. Their leader immediately ordered combat positions, and they prepped their weapons. The creature reared up, unleashing a massive strike. Tauren called for the injured to fall back while the rest surrounded it, ordering them to target legs first. One soldier went all out, a blow that should have split an orc's thigh, yet it barely scratched the surface. Tauren shouted to refocus, but the warning came too late. The creature yeeted him like a baseball, sending him flying, too wrecked to fight back.
As it raised its claws for the final blow, the strike carved a massive crater. Terran intercepted it, a total clutch move. Seeing 3 of his squad badly hurt, something in him snapped. He was fuming. That creature had to pay. He screamed for everyone to go all out. The soldiers swarmed from every direction. Someone yelled to fall back, but the assault kept going until a leg was finally severed.
It roared, losing its footing. Terran moved in for the finisher, aiming for one decisive strike. From my spot, I felt the mana surge around him as he lunged, deep slashing the massive bear. And just like that, it went down. The other soldiers swarmed, openly clowning it, like their fear from minutes ago was totally fake. Terran knelt by the body, clearly stumped on where this thing even came from. That's when he clocked the black spots scattered on its hide. The soldier was like, "Plague?" But I instantly knew what was up. I'd been low-key wondering how this thing even existed. Only one explanation made sense. Leader had Aaron post up with guys, then Brent start skinning it for armor. I stopped him. That hide? Nah, useless. Everyone was shook. Terran's curiosity instantly spiked. He totally clocked I knew more. I nodded. He told the others to ditch the hide and head back, then motioned for me to follow. In his office, he offered a seat, then cut straight to the chase about the markings. I told him the creature was poisoned by demonic energy. He looked stunned, recognizing it as Black Mage dark power. He asked if they were low-key operating in the forest, given how forbidden that practice was.
I told him mages might not be directly involved, but something corrupted by that energy? Totally possible. Demonic energy, I explained, is power from direct demon worship. Get exposed too long and it's game over, a miserable death. I remembered from my past life that a demonic magic stone was found in this very forest. That incident shook the entire empire when it dropped. Reports credited the Neo-Calitz unit with first uncovering the demon-corrupted monsters here, which led the Imperial Army to assemble an expeditionary force to take them out. Putting it together now, it hit me. This has to be exactly where it all began. The OG spot.
Demonic energy, my take, buffs a creature by low-key poisoning it, twisting it dangerous. But you can yeet it before full corruption. After my intel, Tarn asked how I knew. I told him. My dad spilled the tea. He'd seen similar. That caught his interest. He pressed for deets. He was kinda sus, but desperate. They were grasping at straws with this wild sitch.
Next day, the soldiers were wiped after yesterday's almost unalived situation. Then someone dropped the tea. Bronzerian Forest was officially locked down, a no-go zone for everyone, starting today. Just training for us now. Major chill vibes hit the squad, especially the injured, finally getting to un-oof themselves. Amid the celebration, Kyle clocked I wasn't vibing. I played it cool, faking the relief. Knew it was a W for the squad, even if for me, it was low-key torture.
Soon after, heavily armed garrison soldiers rolled up to the barracks, leaving everyone low-key confused. They went straight to Terran's office. Terran, not hyped, demanded their biz. The captain thanked him for the forest report, then dropped the bomb. The Temple's in, because they also felt the monster's corpse radiating some serious evil vibes. Terran's brain went, OMG, I was right. But it also made him wonder if the forest was actually linked to demonic energy.
Still TBD, the captain spilled the tea. Temple's sending a priest for a joint forest search. He suggested I tag along, since I get demonic energy. Terran sent nah, arguing a rookie with 0 field experience was a major L. But Cap reminded him I was the only one who understood the vibe, having literally found it first. Terran wanted to push back, but knew a hard no would get his unit clapped, leaving him no choice but to comply. He told Aaron to find me.
Pulled up, dropped the army code, recognized them. Why were guards even here, though? A plan started cooking, ASAP. Hit up Terran, he spilled why they called. NGL, I was shook. He said I could dip, but this op was too good to pass. I was in.
His face went full surprised. I boldly offered to help, genuinely wanting in. This was my shot to find what I was after, low-key. Terran turned to the guard. Word was out I was joining, so he'd hit me up when the schedule was locked.
I saluted. Later, he asked if I was really chill with it, offering to send some senior squad members.
I told him I'd rather solo it. If things went south, I could dip faster, no one to slow me. He firmly reminded me, combat's a hard no. I told him to chill, I'd snag herbs for the squad. I bounced with the crew, Terrence sighed watching us. His vice commander next to him was like, that kid's built different.
Soon we hit the forest. My squad, Urkel Guard Captain Vassal, and Temple Priest Claire. Figured a dark mage was sus, but this squad was overkill for recon. Captain asked my name. I told him. He seemed shook. I asked if there was an issue.
I told him I was New Calit's unit. He was Urkel Guard. My take? Different units, ranks irrelevant. He stammered, still flexing his captain rank. I dipped, said no cap, I'd cooperate reasonably. Left him shook, wondering what kind of wild card I was. Then the priest asked the captain, "Who's that?"
He introduced me as Damon, a new soldier from Neo Calit's, apparently the first to suss out the demonic energy. That immediately piqued her interest, someone who might already get the vibe. She walked over, asking if I was sensing something, having heard I first flagged the demonic energy. She had questions. I gave the go-ahead. She asked how I specifically ID'd the monster's aura as demonic. I immediately clocked her suspicion, so I pulled my usual lie. Learned it from my dad, who'd had a similar experience.
That really caught her attention. She asked if I'd actually seen the corpse. I was like, yeah. She nodded, saying she checked it out with the high priest too. I told her I knew most bronze monsters, but this creature was a whole new vibe. Super huge, black markings, made me sus about demonic energy corruption. She asked if my late dad taught me this, and I confirmed it.
She thanked me, then told the captain to push deeper. He gave the order, report anything sus. As guards moved, I dipped, unnoticed, to grab something I'd been eyeing. Found it. Then soldiers rushed over. What'd you find? Just a white root, I said. Good for mana regen. They got triggered over one herb? So extra. I straight up told them, keep that energy. You won't last out here. I reminded them teaching wasn't my gig. I was just there to collab. What was the actual problem? One yelled, startling the others, accusing me of messing up. I smirked. If this rattled them, their skill level was sus, and that vibe would tank their rap. The captain stepped in, told his guys to chill, then warned me he wouldn't tolerate that behavior. It could interfere with their search. I sighed, agreeing to stick to the search zone.
Okay, that's done. He told everyone to drop their gear and search for real. Suddenly, a massive roar ripped through the woods. Monsters popped out ahead, and the captain yelled, "Brace for combat!" The squad was kind of chill, figuring it was a standard pack, NBD. Then one of them clocked the black marks and red eyes. Corruption. Big yikes.
A corrupted creature yeeted itself at a soldier, weapon aimed. The soldier was cornered, just bracing for the hit. I clapped back before it landed, asking how much more he'd tank the Urkel Guard's rep.